Now moving on to F, which is the adoption of the public agenda.
I will move adoption of the public agenda for today.
Second.
Moved and seconded, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of today's agenda? Do we have some online?
Martin Davis.
Martin, okay, awesome. Welcome, Martin. Moving on, there's no petitions or delegations. Adoption of minutes.
I'll move that the minutes of the regular meeting of the First Nations Relations Committee held on June 4th, 2025 be adopted as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Business arising? No.
No, it's next.
That's okay.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion's carried, thank you. Business arising from the minutes. Following the adoption of the previous minutes, the chair will provide opportunities to directors to introduce further resolutions. Sorry, Director Mooney.
Thank you, Chair. I had a question. I know that it says here that it's an opportunity to introduce further resolutions. It was more a question regarding an item in the minutes, and I was curious if there has been an update on correspondence with the Himalco First Nation regarding the geographical naming topic that is in those June minutes. I think there's a motion in there that it was going to come back to the board with correspondence from Himalco, and I don't remember if that happened or not, so maybe staff could remind me if it did or if it's still in progress.
I don't believe that report is ready yet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Business arising from the minutes. So,
Okay, okay. Do we have any other resolutions rising from the minutes? So to move receipt.
no, that's fine. So the next thing would be, I believe, Sheena would like to introduce the new First Nations coordinator to the committee.
So moving on, we have, sorry, who?
Sheena.
Jayla?
Thank you, through the chair, to the committee members. You've likely seen me before at board meetings, but I have since then changed my position from Manager of Engineering Services to Manager of Strategic Initiatives, which oversees the First Nations Relations portfolio. Sitting beside me, you'll also see a new face. Our new First Nations liaison has joined us as of December 1st, and I'd like to take this opportunity to have Liz Carter introduce herself. Thank you.
That one, okay. Thank you, Sheena. Sheena and I both started these new positions on December 1st. We met in the hallway and I went, oh, that's going to be interesting. Both of us starting on the same day, but she has lots of experience with the SRD. So, Nugwayam Gwakweyev. I come from northern Vancouver Island. My band is Kwikwisutnukikwamis. I was born in Alert Bay. We did most of my growing up in Port Alice, and since then I've been within Likutas territory where I've been living, playing, working. Much appreciative. So this is definitely my home base now. I come off of 4 years of governing for the Kwikwisutnukikwamis. So it's definitely feels like it's the other side of the fence, but it's exciting to be able to come to the First Nations Relations Committee. It's promising to even have a committee of this regard. So I look forward to working with you and for you in the coming years, and hopefully we'll be open armed and welcoming to our nations which are in the district. Have I missed anything? No, I think that's all. But nice to meet you all, and thank you. And congratulations, Chair and Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the team. And we have Director Vonnet.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to welcome Liz to the SRD. It's really great to have you here and just welcome your expertise and relationships. And thank you for taking on this position. And thanks to Sheena for doing this too. I think that there's a lot of opportunity here that we can move on around truth and reconciliation and working together. And I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you.
Any more discussions? Moving on. Next up is the schedule of committee meetings.
I'd move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Moved and seconded, thank you. And we have a report from staff, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed schedule is attached in the staff report, which is part of the agenda. If there's any changes, of course, the committee is free to recommend them as part of today's discussion. Otherwise, we're suggesting that the committee adopt the schedule as presented.
I just had one question. Because of the next item that's on the agenda, that there's a reinitiation and a new engagement, I've noticed that they're every second month, and I know that in the past while, considering we just accepted the minutes from June, there hasn't been a lot of movement, but does that give us enough time for working with a new consultant on, the many things that we've kind of got initiated, but I know that there's a lot of work to still be done. So I'm just curious if staff feels that that gives us enough time to welcome a new consultant, start working with them, and have those more regular. Does it a requirement to have the more regular meetings?
Mr. Chairman, I think I would ask Sheena if she can respond to that. I'm not sure that I really understand fully the schedule for hiring a consultant and getting that work done, so perhaps Sheena can enlighten us.
Thank you, through the chair. So as we are, without getting to the details of the next report, we are going to be exploring next steps. And I think once we have a firmer idea of what that looks like and what a consultant that we may hire might have in mind for developing sort of a new path forward towards developing more readiness, we can look at examining sort of the schedule of meetings. The current proposal was intended to have meetings at a frequency that allowed us to have meaningful content in the agendas and sort of respect the time of the directors to participate while ensuring that we also have regular meetings so that we're not seeing that same break. So once we get through the next reports and then through the board and have the opportunity to potentially engage a consultant, we can revisit sort of the timelines and schedule as needed.
Perfect, thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that we were allowing ourselves enough time to do the work. So appreciate that, and we can. It's our schedule. We can always amend it. So thanks.
Dr. Vonnet.
Thank you, Chair. I know we haven't met in a while, and I did look back at some of the previous meetings, and there are a number of motions that were made that haven't been followed up on yet. I'm just wanting to make sure that those are, the plan is that we are going to follow up with them and make some movement.
Through the chair, all directions of the board need to be fulfilled, so we are going to be working through them and similar to some of the reports on here, bringing back potentially some alternative ideas if we see potential for a pivot that we might see as beneficial.
Thank you, Director Mooney.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the line of questioning around the schedule and the next items. And specifically, I note that one of the next items would be potentially seeking a strategic planning session with us to that would then guide the engagement of a consultant. So if that motion does pass at the board level, would there be consideration of a strategic planning session prior to the next meeting, which wouldn't be until April, I believe?
Thank you through the chair. I think that all remains to be determined. Engaging a consultant, defining a terms of reference, finding a time to work may be tight to do before the next session. So we are hopeful that the next April session will be able to have something to bring forward with a bit more detail should the motions of the next report
Okay,
pass.
I must have misunderstood because I thought that the recommendation is that we have a strategic planning session prior to engaging. Actually, like the strategic planning would then guide the engagement of the consultant.
Perhaps could we have this conversation following the next
Yeah,
report? I think we're
sure.
really kind of getting into the details there, but I think all of that will become clear. But we'll make sure to address those questions when we get into that report. Thank you.
Thank you.
One last one on the schedule. I just noticed that August, we have a meeting planned, and I know, like we said, we can amend it, or we can plan another meeting or miss another meeting. I just, as cautionary, July and August are usually people's holidays, and so I wonder if we want to move that to September, but I'll leave that up until the next conversation. So thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? We're still in receipt. Hearing no more discussion, all in favor? Oh, sorry. I got one on the board there, sorry. Go ahead there, Director. Davis?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just in regard to that previous discussion, I would feel that moving it to September would be appropriate if possible as well, because I know there's a reasonably good chance I won't be available at that time in August. Thanks.
So what I'd do then is I'll get, if you call the question, then when we do the schedule, then I would move that one meeting from September to, or from August to September, if that's the will of the committee.
Thank you. Everyone's heard the, all in favor? All in favor, motion's carried.
So I will move that the proposed 2026 meeting schedule for the First Nations Relation Committee as attached to the February 3rd report from the administrative officer be approved, with the exception of moving the August meeting to September.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Everyone's heard the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Moving on to B. That the proposed 2026, oh wait, we went through that, sorry. 2A, that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. I was curious if staff was going to present on this report.
Thank you. This is regarding what was questioned already about the motions that were previous that haven't gone anywhere as of yet. So it's to put towards the First Nations Committee to determine appropriate governance. Oops. Oh. What? What's the same? Oh, it's a different one. They're all related, though. Okay, so on January 24th, 24, the meeting of the board considered the attached report and passed the following resolution: that the regional district commit to developing a First Nations reconciliation framework as a formal action plan that supports reconciliation and is in alignment with the TRC calls of action and UNDRIP. The provincial and federal funding programs be pursued to assist with development of the reconciliation framework. The Regional District has undertaken several initiatives to strengthen relationships with the First Nations communities and advance reconciliation across its operations. In January 2024, Board endorsed the development of First Nations Reconciliation Framework to guide this work in alignment to UNDRIPA DRIPA and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action. Initial work on the framework began in 2024 through engagement with an external consultant, beginning with the assessment of the organizational readiness. The preliminary interviews with staff and elected officials were completed. The consultant was unable to complete phase one. I believe there was 3 phases there, and the framework was paused partway through. Although the assessment was finished, the work completed to date provided early insight and highlighted the opportunity to pause before proceeding further. The pause allows the committee and board to strengthen internal preparedness, develop a shared understanding of the purpose and intent of the framework, and gain greater clarity on what the SRD wants the framework to include and achieve. Taking a step also provides an opportunity to determine the most effective approach for completing the framework in a way that is thoughtful, well-scoped, and positioning a long-term success. Based on these considerations, the committee may wish to consider reinitiating the First Nations Reconciliation Framework through an engagement of new consultants, allowing the board to build a clearer understanding how best to proceed, including the appropriate scope, sequencing, and the approach for completing the framework. To support the work, the committee may also wish to pursue First Nations-specific strategic planning session at the earliest available opportunity. This session would focus on building organizational readiness, identifying priorities, and developing a roadmap to guide how readiness will be strengthened over time, while also providing clearer direction for the engagement and the scope of qualified consultants for the first stage of the First Nations Reconciliation Framework. So the background and the history, of course, goes back to the motions that were made and in support of the objective, the First Nation Relationship Committee was activated in 2016. In 2021, there was a liaison position established. Based on the recommendations of the First Nations Relationship Committee, the board endorsed the development of First Nations Reconciliation Framework in January 2024. The framework was intended to advance reconciliation objective and provide consistent guidance for working with the 12 nations whose traditional territories the SRD operates within. In October 24, Pam Shaw and Associates were retained to develop the framework using 3-phase approach, beginning with an internal assessment of the regional district's organizational readiness for reconciliation. As part of this work, interviews with staff and elected officials were completed to explore current practices, understanding, and preparedness. However, the consultant was unable to complete phase 1 of the project, and the framework was paused partway through. The consultant's inability to complete phase 1, together with subsequent staffing transitions, contributed to this delay in advancing the framework and reinforced the value of ensuring the organization is well positioned before moving ahead. While the assessment was not finalized, the work completed to date highlighted the benefit of pausing to develop greater clarity and share understanding before proceeding. Developing a readiness roadmap would support exploration of different ways of thinking about reconciliation in the local government context and help clarity what the SRD wants the framework to include and achieve, positioning the organization for a more informed decision-making and successful completion of future phases. The committee may therefore wish to consider deferring reinitiation of the First Nation Reconciliation Framework until 2027. Enabling a newly elected board to fully involve establishing the framework's direction, expectations, and desired outcomes. To support readiness in the interim, staff are proposing the First Nation-specific strategic planning session be coordinated at the earliest available opportunity This session would help create space for shared understanding, support early learning and discussion, and inform the development of a future requests for proposals to retain a qualified consultant to complete the next stage of the First Nations Reconciliation Framework. This purpose approach builds on work already completed or underway across the organization within the SRD operations and initiatives. There are existing alignments in DRIPA, UNDRIP, and the TRC calls for action. Although not all exhaustive, here are some. Establish First Nation Relationship Committee, create and fund First Nation liaison position, coordinate several sessions of cultural competency training, welcome Kayukuk Chesasek into the SRD board, in partnership with KCFN, facilitate community-to-community forum, exploring transportation opportunities, improving access to high-speed internet connectivity, collaborating and providing emergency management support, engage and provide presentation on SRD and initiatives including recreate and solid waste management and 911 and Connected Coast. The financial implications based on the board's direction, staff will work to support the development of the First Nations specific strategic planning session and the completion of the First Nations Reconciliation Framework. It is anticipated that there are sufficient funds with the strategic initiative function to complete this work. However, its further resources are required. Staff will bring a report back to board before engagement of a consultant. Where applicable, staff will also bring forward grant funding opportunities to support these initiatives. And legal implications is aligning policies and stuff with UNDRIP and Indigenous relations. The intergovernmental regional implications, both the proposed strategic planning session and future development of First Nations Reconciliation Framework will involve continued engagement with regional First Nations to understand priorities, identify opportunities for collaboration, and support informed framework development. Intergovernmental relationship will remain central to this work, particularly as readiness building activities are undertaken in advance to reinitiating a framework. Yeah, is there any questions?
Thank you.
So within the report, there is a paragraph in there that says that we may want to consider not reinitiating and wait for a newly elected council, which will be, but and I noticed that in the recommendations, it is that it is reinitiated. I'm wondering if you can speak to that, considering how much is still on the work plan. I know that the recommendation is B, but then it says within the report that we may want to put that off. So if you could just speak to that for a sec.
Thank you, through the chair. So apologies if there's any confusion in the report. The intent is that we wait to reinitiate the full reconciliation framework while we build organizational readiness. And in the interim, that we do the strategic planning session, which we envision to be facilitated by a consultant. So that's where that perhaps confusion of hiring the consultant may have come in, to help us with that roadmap to build organizational readiness and also reevaluate and define the priorities that we'd like to see within that reconciliation framework. Noting that we don't necessarily and probably shouldn't just re-go with what we started with originally. We'll have a new set of consultants on board. Hopefully we'll have that roadmap or that strategic planning session will identify some of the priorities amongst the board and the committee that we can build into that reconciliation framework that we will then use to go hire a consultant to reinitiate the framework. So step one would be a facilitated strategic planning session that will give us time to build readiness and identify priorities that we will then use to reinitiate the reconciliation framework.
Thank you, and I was glad to see that contained in B, there wasn't that date of 2027, because then who knows if that consultant is familiar, feet on the ground, how much research they've done into the organization and the work we've done already. So I'm glad to see that the date's not there, so thanks.
Director Maloney?
Thank you, Chair. Something that I noticed when I was reading the report, and similar to what Director Colburn just mentioned, was reflecting on the order of these motions here. at the committee. I'm wondering if it would be, and I personally think maybe we would want to move C first and then move B, just because I think B seems like it's a little bit like further down the road. And the way that they read right now, it sort of seems, at least to me, that they're a little bit misaligned. But then my other question was regarding a recommendation that's labeled as C, that we recommend a First Nation specific strategic planning session be pursued. Was that thought to be something that would be happening at the board level or would be happening at the committee level?
Thank you through the chair. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the order of the recommendations. I think B was more to reaffirm that we still want to proceed with the reconciliation framework more than the chronological sequence of the events. So with C, I guess that is up for discussion amongst the committee. I guess staff's vision, which is up to the committee, was that we would pursue that strategic planning session at the committee level. And sort of in partnership with some of the spirits of the reports to follow, to see if that would be a path forward. But it could definitely be a broader perspective with the board, noting that, of course, all recommendations and activities that arise out of this committee are referred to the board as well. So they would be receiving awareness and details of what is happening through that process. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And that's kind of what I was envisioning, would be more who we would be the ones that were engaged in that, and the recommendations would go to the board. I guess my question would be to a corporate officer, does the motion as it stands, is it clear that it would be for the First Nations Relations Committee, or would it be helpful if we added some more context?
By the motion that, pardon me, the motion that's currently on the floor, if that's...
No, sorry, under C.
Under C. Well, it is just a recommendation, and as the manager stated, these will all go to the board. There'll be further engagement, pardon me, further discussion and engagement at the board around the context. And the board may not want to be part of this, or they may, and that's something for the board to decide. So I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Well, sort of, but not really, because what I'm trying to discern is, like, we're making a recommendation to the board. So are we making a recommendation to the board that we think that this committee wants to do a strategic planning session and make them some recommendations, or are we suggesting to the board, hey, we think that everybody needs to get in the room and do a strategic planning session? So I'm just wondering, obviously the board is very willing to adjust recommendations or not support recommendations, but it might, to my mind, be helpful if we provided that additional information in the motion, if that was our direction.
If the committee has an opinion about that matter, whether it should just be committee members or the whole board, then I think that should be part of the resolution.
Okay, thank you for that.
And if we're discussing that, I think that it's our job as the members of the committee, when that comes to board, to put that option out there, that depending who on the board is interested, then maybe that's a path forward, that we're already in this committee doing this work. I'd like to see the recommendation stay the same and give that option to the board, and speak to it as members of this committee, what the importance of moving that forward quicker may come from just having these committee members sit. So that might be something that they want to explore. Instead of saying, we're going to do this little thing over here, right? I think that's just, I think it should come out in the discussion as members of the committee. That's just my brothers.
Thank you. Do we have any more discussion? We're still on receipt for the report?
Chair, thank you,
Director
Chair.
Van.
Chair, I really do support the SRD moving forward and taking action on truth and reconciliation and aligning ourselves with DRIPA and following through on the recommendations from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It seems like we're really turning our wheels, and I understand there's, staff turnover and, but it seems like we're just kind of asking ourselves the same question again, do we want to do this? And for me, at the beginning of this, one of the things I said was we have a framework. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission put out 94 recommendations, some of those directly aimed at municipal governments like ourselves. And I think it's really our choice to look at those recommendations that have been given to us and pick some and say, let's do it. And I'm just really concerned about us spinning our wheels here and not really actually moving forward when, in my opinion, the framework's there. And it's just, is there the political will here to actually get some of these things done? Thank you.
Well,
Director Mahoney?
thank you for that, Director Bernash. And to that point, I guess, my question to my fellow directors here would be, do we need to recommend reinitiation with the new consultant if really what we're hearing from staff is we don't think that needs to happen right now anyway, and the board has already affirmed its intent to do this work? So if it's not time sensitive, and I agree that having a strategic planning session and making sure that we're aligning ourselves with DRIPA and with the calls to action are going to show that we're doing the work rather than hiring a consultant that won't start for at least a year and the work is further and further out.
Good.
Thank you. And I don't think that that's, and correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but I don't think that that's what's in the report. I think what's in the report is to get that strategic planning session going, right? And in the meantime, get a consultant on board so that they can follow through with all of the work plan that we have laid out, right? So I don't, that's just staff, that was the impression that I got.
Thank you. If I may, so we signed a contract, we issued an RFP, we signed a contract with a consultant who was unable to deliver. So part of item B is to say, does the committee and the board recommend that we go out and hire a new consultant to continue it, being as that sort of original direction is unable to be fulfilled through the execution of that contract. So I know that I mentioned that is to reaffirm that we still want to do it, but it's also to initiate the process required for us to actually go out and hire a new consultant. So further to that, after having reviewed the proposal and the work plan from that consultant, Liz and I felt that there was opportunities to refine it and that a new consultant may have a different vision that may be more aligned, maybe more beneficial. To the director's points about the existing calls outlined in DRIPA and UNDRIP, we need a SRD specific level pathway. So it's not just taking those at the broad level. We need an action plan that we can execute at the SRD level. And we need sort of those directions to come out of the board and the committee members. So unless the board and the committee can give us specific firm direction as to what individual steps they would like us to take to meet those calls to action, we believe that we need a consultant and a framework to guide that work. So happy to take those specific directions if they're available, but it is of staff's opinion that having that facilitated, having somebody with a greater depth of understanding of how to execute those calls to action and to help facilitate the conversations and the awareness of the board and staff, because it's sort of an organizationally wide initiative, would be in the most benefit for us to get tangible, actionable SRD level outcomes. Thank you.
Director Vanish, did you still have your hand up? No? We're still in receipt and, oh, sorry, go ahead, Director Manley.
Thank you, Chair. Really wanted to appreciate staff's additional context there. And I guess my sort of last question on this would be noting that the previous consultant did not complete the contract as it was set out. Do we believe, or is there likely to be additional costs? Because I can envision that there could be a question that the board is going to ask when they receive this recommendation, and I didn't really see any notice of that in the report.
Thank you, through the chair. So until we define the terms of reference for the hiring of that consultant and receive proposals, we're going to be unable to comment on what the final cost will be. There's a significant amount of money in the budget for both 2026 and 2027. So there is money to fund the strategic planning session that we are proposing for 2026. And then we were hoping to have some better costing available for the budget time for 2027. Additionally, this work is we anticipate that there will likely be grants to support this work. So if we do discover that we are under budget, we can also look to sort of extend that into the 2028 year, as this is it is a journey. We need to take our time, we need to do it right. So it's not a matter of rushing through it and getting it all done in 2027 if that is not what sort of the consultant and the board and the committee feels will get us those outcomes. So we do have time to navigate any additional sort of financial planning that we need to do and likely pursue grant funding if needed. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there was please don't quote me on this, I know it's filmed, but I want to say something around $70,000 in the 2026 budget and then another $110,000 in 2027. So we've got money for this work and we've got time to navigate it if we need it. But again, sorry, Mike, please don't quote me on those numbers.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a great discussion, and this is work that does need to carry forward. It's a very important work, and so it's important that we get it right and take our time. Any more discussion?
Director Davis has
Director Davis?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, interesting discussion. I feel like I'm good with the recommendations here from staff, and I'd be happy to move it once we vote on receipt. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Davis. Any more discussion? Are we ready? All in favor? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Did we pass the motion?
Moving on, under 2B, that the committee recommend that the First Nation reconciliation framework be reinitiated with the engagement of a new consultant.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Seconded by Director Davis. Moved and seconded. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Abstentions of any? All in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried.
Move C.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Do we have any discussion on her?
Actually, just to be clear, this would go back to the board, and the board would decide whether this is a committee strategic planning session or a board strategic planning session, and then from there, that strategic planning session would happen. Am I getting that right? I'm seeing nods around the room. Great, thank you.
Oh, and I think that there's value to both, having the whole board here and having the committee here. I know that things work faster with just us, it seems, but also making sure that that pathway is really clear and that we're following directly what the board, I think that opening that up. So we'll see what the board has to say. Maybe it is committee members and part of the board. Maybe it's all of the board. I don't know how that looks and what that works out like, but I do know that everything goes through the board from this committee, and also that there is value on having everyone on the same page and with that clear direction to staff that this is where we're going, this is how we're going to get there, this is how fast or how slow we're going to move. So.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
I just think that the board has assigned us to do this work. And And I think that would likely include strategic planning and making, and doing the thinking that, you know, we're really engaged in this frequently at this committee table, and doing the work and coming out with the recommendations. I think that would, for me, that seems like there would be a smoother path, and, you know, there's other directors that may not be.
You know, I think part of our job is to choose things both that we think need to be done, but also that we think that there's the will in the regional district board to move forward. So I would support that, but I'd love to hear from other directors that haven't necessarily stated an opinion on that.
Okay.
I think, as I said previously, it's kind of up to us to present that to the board when they move this recommendation. You know, we are on this committee. We are here to do this job. If it's the will of the board, then we can just do that strategic session on our own and bring you back the recommendations if that makes things more streamlined. That's what I would speak to at the board if this motion came up to be passed by them.
Director Davis?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do the work here at the committee level, although I'd like to hear from staff if this is how this process should move forward. Does this make the most sense from a staff perspective?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I think from a staff perspective, we would defer that to the board. I mean, really, I don't know, for example, how much interest there is on the part of individual directors to participate through this process. It may be that they want this committee to do the heavy lifting. I don't know. I think that's a discussion that will be held at board and will be enlightening for all.
Thanks for that.
Yes, thank you for that. There's a lot of work and heavy work, and if anybody would like to join the team, that would be great, you know, and helping us with these decisions coming up, and so I think that would be that's a great suggestion. Any more discussion? Are we prepared? All in favor of C? Sorry, can I see your hands again? Thank you. Motion's carried. And moving on to number 3, First Nations art for Recreate.
Move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Thank you. Through the chair to the committee members. So this was a pretty exciting initiative that I was able to start when I was still under the engineering portfolio, and it was to bring First Nations art into the Recreate facility, which is the revitalization of Strathcona Gardens, and particularly Phase 1, which is the new Aquatic and Wellness Center. Starting back in the commitment to provide First Nations art, specifically representing the Ligwata and the Kwakwaka'wakw speaking people, was a commitment dating back to at least 2021, as far as I can find in the reports. In April of 2025, we held a luncheon with the elected chiefs of the Wiwaikai and Wiwaikam nations and invited artists from within their territories to attend and learn a little bit more about the project. Following that, we issued an RFP that closed in October of last year, and we were able to do the evaluation in January of this year. So the evaluation panel consisted of Wolfgang Parada, who is the senior manager of engineering, who is overseeing the Recreate project, Chief Ronnie Chakite of the Wiwaikai Nation, Chief Chris Roberts of the Wiwaikam First Nation, John Buttery, who's one of the architects with HCMA, who's overseeing the project, and Ken Blackburn, who is a recently retired member of the Campbell River Arts Council. So we evaluated a number of very, very strong proposals. We had a tremendous turnout, and I was just personally blown away with the quality of the First Nations artists in our area. One of the driving principles that was identified at the luncheon was that we wanted to distribute the art as wholesomely as we could throughout the facility. So while there were 2 art opportunities that were presented. The artists were encouraged to come up with any other ideas that they had in order to have more pieces in the facility. There was also a desire to have a balance between the WeWiKai and WeWiCom artists, and a desire to have mentorship, collaboration, and options for the community to participate. So ultimately, we were able to pick 4 pieces. That is a pretty even distribution of funds between the WeWiKai and WeWiCom nations, and sees 4 different unique pieces throughout the facility. So included in the report are some of the proposals, which are essentially concepts that are going to be refined following the award of the contracts. So the Social Heart mural, which is one of the main walls in the new entrance center, was awarded to Jessica Jakite, who has a painting that represents sports silhouettes and killer whales. Ernest Puglis with Hunter Puglis and Fisher Roberts will be doing a carved circular panel that will also go. Oh, perfect! So there's an image of Jessica Jakite's proposal, and that mural, that wall is I think 13 meters across. So the piece is going to be significant. You can see it's got a lot of vibrant colors and represents different sports that are happening within the facility. If we could move to the next one. So this was submitted by Ernest Puglis, who will be working with Hunter Puglis and Fisher Roberts, titled The Pride of the Liguito, which is a wall-mounted carved panel, which will be on the Social Heart wall, or sort of on the wall between the Social Heart leading up to the arenas. So it's a 6x6 panel that will be carved and painted. You'll also be able to see this from the outside. You can't... If you're familiar with reading designs, you can kind of tell, but there's a lot of glazing or glass along the wall facing the Social Heart through the vestibule and then into that garden area. So you will be able to see this as well from certain aspects from outside. The next piece is going to be a 15-foot totem that is being carved by Greg Henderson, Junior Henderson, and Jalen Price. It's the Quan Quan Hualaga and the Liguito sea worm. Through this process, I learned that Liguito means sea worm, which is a character or a being, and when it is severed, it just turns into more worms, so it's unkillable, yeah. So, and the Quan Quan Hualaga is I probably butchered that pronunciation, but that's the thunderbird, which is the creation, one of the creation animals within the Liguito culture. So you can see it's a 15-foot. It'll be a 15-foot totem. It's going in a raised planter right in the center of the patio area. One of the reasons this piece was chosen is it's got sort of 360-degree interest with the way the Liguita circles the Quan Quan Hualaga. Thank you. There you go. Yeah. On to the next. And then this was also another totem that was submitted. Instead of working with it as a totem, we have discussed with the artist, and he has consented to break these 3 figures down into individual carvings that we are going to place throughout the at-grade garden bed that will be sort of to the side of the planter that you can't quite see it from here, but you'll be able to see it as well from the inside of the facility, the same way you'll be able to see the carved panel by Ernest Puglis from the outside. So we're still going to be working with Brent Smith on this to determine exactly where they'll be placed and what the size will be, but they'll be, this area is a little bit more quiet and intimate. It's sort of enclosed by the building. It's got some seating areas, so these figures will be a little bit more human scale and a little bit more interactable while still being placed within the garden bed, which is full of native plants. So we are very, very excited about this. All of these items will be added to the facility in stage 2 of construction, which we'll see opening hopefully in January of 2027. This is also all being done with a partnership with the WeWiKai First Nation, who will be doing the artist management for us. And again, the art was selected and the whole concept was developed in partnership with both the WeWiKai and WeWiCom. So we are quite excited with the outcome here and really looking forward to welcoming the art into the space and making it really culturally relevant and a culturally spaced place for our First Nations visitors, and also to help all of the visitors learn more about the culture. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. We're still on receipt, so do we have any discussion? Ooh. Director Davis?
I'd just like to say these are wonderful pieces of art, and I like the different ways they're being formatted in the building, and I think it's going to be wonderful. That's my comment. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Davis. Any more? Director Vaughan?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, echoing those statements, gorgeous pieces of art here. And, I think one of the really exciting things for me is when we have public spaces that have Indigenous culture represented in such a big way, it supports Indigenous kids to feel like they should be there. And you know, yes, this is beautiful for art, for non-Indigenous folks to come and to understand. That's part of the work. But you know, I'm really seeing this as being something that this sports center is a place where Indigenous kids are welcome and their culture is represented. I think that's really beautiful. So I'm grateful to staff to getting us to this point.
Thank you. Moving on.
And the most exciting thing to hear from me was the kind of mentorship kind of process that is being followed, because involving kids. So it's so multi-layered in the placement, in the place where it is, in the placement that it is, and in the opportunity to build on those skills. So that was just really exciting for me to hear about. So thanks for making inclusivity on top of inclusivity. So.
Any more discussion? Thank you. Yeah, that's excellent representation for the people here, and excellent artwork. I really like it. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Bylaws, correspondence. Get checklist First Nations corporate head office.
I would move that the June 16th news release from ICE-T regarding the KCFN corporate head office investment in Campbell River be received.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you.
I will move to receive 2, 3, and 4 items if folks want to, unless anybody else wants to pull in. To pull? Go ahead.
So I think you have to deal with this first.
Okay. So we'll go through the first one first. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Oh, sorry. We got one question there first.
I do have a question, and I'm wondering, I know that you have an office here, I'm just wondering if Chair Jack, that you can speak to, I mean, what that means for nations that have home offices, satellite offices in our major places of, business and appointments and all of that. I think that it's really exciting. And I know that New Chatlet has been building one. NTC, I believe, is in the it's really meaningful to have these satellite offices in our biggest places of commerce and economic economy. So that's all I was wondering.
Yes, I'd be happy to. We recently purchased a large office space we were renting for a while. We started out over on the plaza front in a small office area there. And it's, like you alluded to, a satellite office, and it's a place where our members either live here in Campbell River or any of the surrounding towns, Nanaimo or anywhere on the island. Because our area is so remote and the access and getting there, so we decided it was much needed to have a place where our members can correspond and get any help and our limited space for office up in Hoopsatos as well. Our developments up there are slow, and so it was easier for us to acquire an office space out here and to continue to help our members that live in and out. We have numerous different positions in the office here. I think I don't know how many people working there. There's well over 30 anyway. But yeah, it's basically just to help our members that live away from Cayuga Checklist and yeah, just a point where they go. We hold a lot of dinners and things like that to engage our youth and our elders. So they do like weaving and game nights and all that kind of stuff. And it's a great nation, to build our nation, uphold our people, and you know, just the tackling the drugs and alcohol and things like that, and give people things to do and a place to go and be with your family and just yeah, it's a big part of gathering is sharing your relatives and who you're related to and things like that. So that's the main purpose, I guess, is just to keep our all of our members of our nation, just, you know, so they have a place out here to, and if anything should happen in a major event and hoops it to us, then we have a safe place where we can contact as well. So there's numerous other situations as well, but those are the major ones. Thank you. So we're still on receipt. So all in favor? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Move receipt of the Kamugwi Cultural Society correspondence.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you.
And if I may speak to that, Mr. Chair?
Director Winnie, good.
Thank you. This item was referred to this committee by the board. We received it as correspondence at the board, and there's an invitation in this correspondence or an offer from the Negedzi hereditary chief, Rob Everson Gigilgam Wallace Kwagut, that he would be interested or willing to provide a 20-minute presentation to the board. And I'm curious to hear from my fellow directors if they think that it would be beneficial to extend an invitation to this hereditary chief, Rob Everson. I personally think that it would be beneficial. I know it's been a while since we received the correspondence because we haven't had a meeting since it was referred here in August. And so I don't know if that would be awkward or not, but these days, we are hearing provincial leaders calling to repeal DRIPA and suggesting that First Nations wouldn't exist without Canada. And I really think it's really critical that we listen and learn from First Nations leaders about the challenge that they are facing and learn how we can work together and be stronger together. So I have a motion, which I will propose after we've moved receipt, which is just that we make a recommendation to the board to extend an invitation to this gentleman, and also to express gratitude for sharing the booklets that he did share with us. And I did check in with staff because I know sometimes we have delegations at the board and they're only 10 minutes. And in his letter, he specified that he had a 20-minute presentation. And staff has clarified for me that if an invitation is extended, it doesn't have to fall within the 10-minute guideline. It can be longer. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add on that or. Okay. Well, I'll say, I think we have to vote on receipt before I can say my motion.
Thank you. Director Coburn?
I'll speak when she makes her motion. I'll second it and then speak to that then.
So we do have one on the floor. So all in favor? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Director Mahoney?
Thank you, Chair. I move that the committee recommend to the board to write to Negedzi Hereditary Chief Rob Everson Gigilgam Wallace Kwagut, extending an invitation to share with the SRD board on cultural erasure and political and legal challenges of today, and to express gratitude for the sharing of the cultural erasure booklets.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Any discussion?
And thank you for pulling this and bringing it forward. I do think that, we do a lot of work and learning here, and we do a lot of work and learning, at least from, a council, a municipal standpoint as well. But I think any opportunity to have a delegation come and present to us, to give us good, solid information, and especially in a 20-minute talk, I mean, that's, so valuable. And so thank you for bringing that forward. Appreciate that.
Thank you. And just a quick comment from me. It'll be excellent to see, and hopefully, well, I'm looking forward to it. It's always amazing when you see a hereditary chief coming forward for his people. So looking forward to it. Thank you. And moved and seconded. All in favor? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I would move correspondence both 3 and 4, if nobody wants to pull either of those.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Any discussion?
Thanks. I just wanted to mention that unfortunately, in item number 4, the links in the communication are not functional. So I wasn't able to actually read the information that was being shared with us, which seems interesting because there's a new marine research station coming to the coast.
Thank you. Any more discussion? No? Thank you. All in favor? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Director's report. No.
So I'll move that for closed session, that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you.
And then I'll move B, that the meeting be closed to the public to consider matters deemed to fall within the parameters of subsections 91K, N, O, and 92B of the community charter.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All in favor? Motion's carried.